Right now, today, inside your company, a list exists. It is not posted on the intranet. Your manager has not mentioned it. HR has not circulated it. But it is being built. In Q4 planning sessions. In budget reviews. In the conversations that happen after you leave the room. The list answers one question: if we had to cut 20% of this organization tomorrow, who stays? The people on the right side of that list are not necessarily the smartest people in the building. They are not always the highest performers. They are the people whose absence would cost more than their salary. They are the architects. An architect doesn't survive the restructure by hoping. They survive it by design. By making themselves structurally necessary, before anyone thinks to ask the question. File 04 showed you the ghost market, how to move through the synthetic filter and get into the room. File 05 is about what you do once you're in the building. How you make yourself the last person they would ever cut. This is what the talent. Welcome to the Great Contraction. Let's build. Before I give you the playbook, I need to give you the map. Because the contraction is not hitting every role equally. And if you don't know where you are on the map, you cannot navigate it. A researcher recently analyzed 180 million job postings to identify exactly what AI is replacing and what it isn't. The findings are precise, and they should change how you think about your position. Senior leadership roles are down only 1.7%, outperforming the entire market by 6 percentage points. The people who decide what to do are still employed and still valued. Manager roles are down 5.7%. Worse than leadership, but still beating the average. The people who manage how things get done, under pressure, but protected if they evolve. Individual contributor roles are the worst performing category. The people who execute on what others decide are most exposed to replacement. Read that again. The higher you sit in the decision-making chain, the safer you are. The closer you are to pure execution, the more exposed you become. And here is the data point that should alarm everyone in the middle. Gartner now predicts that by 2026, 20% of organizations will use AI to eliminate more than half of their current middle management positions. Half. Not trim. Not restructure. Eliminate. The companies doing this are not struggling. Amazon posted $716 billion in revenue last year and cut 30,000 people. Block was profitable and cut 40% of its workforce. The reasoning is now explicit: one engineer plus AI tools can do what 8 engineers used to do. One VP can prototype products without a team of developers, because AI writes the code. The compression is real. And it is moving upward, from entry-level toward mid-level, from mid-level toward senior. The question is not whether it's coming for your layer. The question is whether you will still be there when it arrives. So let's talk about who survives, and more importantly, who they become. The word indispensable gets thrown around a lot. It means nothing without architecture behind it. Because indispensable is not a feeling, it is a structural condition. You are indispensable when the cost of removing you exceeds the cost of keeping you. That calculation happens in spreadsheets, not in performance reviews. And it has 3 components. Component 1: institutional memory that cannot be documented. The CFO Advisory Council made this point precisely when Block announced its cuts. AI can automate workflows, but it doesn't replace the experience of employees who understand clients' controls and historical decisions. Cut too deep and you may improve short-term margins while increasing long-term operational risk. Translation: the knowledge that lives in your head, the client relationships, the political context, the institutional history of why decisions were made, that is non-automatable. But only if you make it visible. Most people carry this knowledge quietly. They keep it as job security. That is exactly backwards. The architect makes their institutional memory legible, to their skip level, to other departments, to the people who make the list. Invisible knowledge protects no one. Visible knowledge is a retention argument. Component 2, revenue language that speaks to the CFO. We covered this in File 02. But I want to go deeper here because the stakes have changed. By end of 2026, 37% of companies expect to have replaced roles with AI. And the data is clear on who gets targeted first: high-salary employees without AI-related skills. Not low performers. High earners who haven't demonstrated AI fluency. The architect does not wait for the audit. They get ahead of it by speaking the language of the person running it. Every week, you should be able to answer one question: what did I produce this week that the company can put a $ next to? Not process. Not activity. A $. If you cannot answer that question in under 60 seconds, you are in the vulnerable category, regardless of title, tenure, or how much your team likes you. Component 3, the human interface layer. This is the one that AI cannot automate. Not yet. Possibly not ever at scale. The analysis of 180 million jobs found that the fastest growing role categories all share one characteristic: they require translation between data and humans. Director of Revenue, up 10.2%. Strategic Leadership, outperforming the market by 6 points. These roles exist at the intersection of intelligence and relationship. The architect is the human who makes sense of what the machine produces. Who takes the AI-generated analysis and turns it into a decision a real person can act on? Who manages the relationship that no algorithm can hold? Who walks into the room where the uncomfortable conversation needs to happen and has it? That interface, human judgment applied to machine intelligence, is the most protected position in the contraction economy. And it is accessible to anyone who builds deliberately toward it. Here are the 5 moves of an architect. Execute them in order. This is the blueprint. Move 1, map your institutional knowledge, then make it visible. Write down every piece of context you carry that is not in any document, system, or process map. Client history that lives in your head. Decisions that were made 3 years ago and why. Political relationships that determine how things actually get done. Now, and this is the counterintuitive part, share it strategically. Not with everyone. With the people above your manager. The skip level relationship is where the architect is built. When your skip level knows your name, your work, and the institutional value you hold, you are significantly harder to cut. Because cutting you requires explaining to someone who already knows what leaves with you. Move 2, become the AI translator, not the AI resistor. 37% of companies plan to replace roles with AI by end of this year. The employees who get cut in this wave share one characteristic: they treated AI as a threat to manage rather than a capability to lead. The architect does the opposite. They become the person who understands what the AI tool can and cannot do in your specific context. You do not need to be a data scientist. You need to be the most AI-fluent person in your immediate orbit. That is a bar most people are not clearing, which means clearing it puts you in a protected category almost immediately. Move 3, own one number that the CFO cares about. Not a process. Not a deliverable. A number. One metric that moves in the right or wrong direction based on what you do. Revenue protected. Cost eliminated. Risk quantified and mitigated. Customer retention rate on accounts you manage. The architect does not manage a function. They own an outcome. Functions can be automated. Outcomes have owners, and owners have names on the right side of the list. Move 4. Build the sponsor network before you need it. The research on restructure survivors is consistent. The people who survive are not the best performers. They are the best positioned performers. They have a sponsor, not a mentor, at least one level above their direct manager, who will spend political capital to keep them. A mentor gives you advice. A sponsor puts their name next to yours in the room where the list is being made. Identify 3 people currently positioned on the right side of the succession plan. Show up for their priorities. Solve a problem they haven't asked you to solve. Create a dependency, not through politics, but through genuine usefulness. The architect builds their board before the storm, not during it. Move 5. Run the architect test monthly. Every 30 days, ask yourself 4 questions. 1. What did I produce this month that has a $sign next to it? 2. What institutional knowledge do I hold that would walk out the door with me? 3. Who in senior leadership knows my work by name? 4. What AA capability did I lead or adopt this month that made my team more effective? If you cannot answer all 4, you are drifting. The architect answers all 4 before the quarterly review, not during it. I want to give you something specific. Because the contraction is not abstract, it is targeting specific functions in a specific sequence. The roles most exposed right now, based on what companies are actively automating. First, any role built primarily around data compilation and reporting. If your core value proposition is gathering information, formatting it, and presenting it, that workflow is being automated at scale. FinTech and accounting specifically, agentic AI now handles 60% of reconciliation and reporting in some organizations. The human who only compiled the report is already redundant. Second, coordination and project management roles, where the primary output is status updates and task tracking. By 2030, Gartner predicts 80% of traditional project management work will be automated. The PM who only tracks the Gantt chart is not the PM who survives. The PM who manages the relationships and judgment calls that the Gantt chart cannot capture, that person is protected. Third, customer support and first-tier client management. Salesforce cut thousands of roles after AA began handling half of their support volume. The support roles that survive are the ones handling escalations, complex relationships, and edge cases, the things the algorithm cannot resolve. The pattern is precise. Execution-only roles are being compressed. Roles that combine execution with judgment, relationship, and context are holding. The architect is not just doing the work, they are the irreplaceable context in which the work gets done correctly. Here is the intelligence you need to act on. Look at your current job description. What percentage of your responsibilities are execution only, tasks that follow a defined process with a predictable output? That percentage is your vulnerability score. The higher it is, the more urgently you need to shift toward judgment, relationship, and translation. You do not need to change your job title. You need to change the mix. The great contraction is not coming for the weakest performers first. It is coming for the most replaceable ones. And replaceable is not a function of skill. It is a function of visibility, positioning, and structural necessity. The architect understands this. They do not build their indispensability quietly, hoping someone will notice. They make their institutional knowledge legible to the people who make the list. They own a number the CFO can see. They lead AI adoption instead of resisting it. They have a sponsor at the table before they need one. They run the test monthly, not quarterly, not annually, monthly. The contraction will pass. It always does. But the organizations that come out the other side will be structurally different, flatter, more AI integrated, built around a smaller number of people who operate at the intersection of human judgment and machine intelligence. The architect is one of those people. You have the blueprint now. File 06 is coming. The exit: how to leave on your terms when the architect strategy isn't enough, the company can't be fixed, and the move is out. This is what the talent. The great contraction is real. The architect is you.